If you've ever stopped yourself from going after an opportunity, or let yourself down when you knew you could have done better, or shied away from an experience, then you know all too well the deep pain of disappointment and regret. But did you know that you have a choice over that fear? And it's a choice that you are in control over. Well, today in the video, we're gonna look at the survival lies that we tell ourselves about the danger we're in, your fear response, what it is, and how to flip it. I'm Maddie Wolf, welcome to the channel. So let's start by looking at what your fear response actually is, and then I'm going to tell you how you can do this incredible mindset switch so that you can alter your experience of fear. And right at the end, I'm going to teach you something that you can start doing today and every day so that you can change the way that you respond to your fear stimulus. Let's get stuck in. Just imagine what it would be like if you could go into that job interview, or stand up and give a presentation, or go on that date, or talk to that stranger, or create an element of your life that you've been holding back on. Imagine what it would be like to do that without a sense of fear, knowing that you can put your best foot forward, that you can bring the very best you have to offer to the situation. Well, that's what these strategies are gonna allow you to do. Fear manifests itself in so many ways, and you may know all too well those symptoms: the worry, the anxiety, the nervousness that has stopped you from going out there and grabbing hold of life. And we could sit here and not make the changes. We could sit here and accept that that's just who we are. But actually, you have so much more to offer, which is why I want you to sit up, pay attention to these strategies that you can alter your course so that you can go there and do what you want to do. So if you've ever experienced fear of failure, if you've ever experienced anxiety that has stopped you from moving forward, if you've ever experienced the fear of speaking out in public, if you've ever experienced stage fright or nervousness at having to perform in one way or another, then this video is for you, and we want to start making the changes right away so that you don't have to live behind that fear anymore. Let's start at the beginning. Actually, the very, very, very beginning, our ancestors' beginning. See, our fear response is instinctive. It's a biological need to keep us alive, and the fear response starts with a threat stimulus. For our ancestors, that threat stimulus was seeing a predator, or some kind of natural disaster, or as simple as the feeling of falling or a loud noise, which could represent their untimely demise. When they're face to face with a saber-toothed tiger, they needed their fear response to kick in. So our fear response is actually happening on a biological, physiological level. When we are met with that threat stimulus, there's a part of our brain, our amygdala, which starts to get our body into action to survive. That's its role when it comes across a threat. This is why when our fear response is activated, we might feel dry mouth, or racing heart, or increased breath. Our breathing may become erratic. Sometimes we even get muscle spasms. This is all because our body is being prepared to survive, to defend ourselves against whatever that threat may be. Now, most of us are not experiencing survival level threats in our day-to-day life. However, our threat triggers. So that threat stimulus, which once upon a time was facing our predator, now might be getting up in front of a group of people and having to give a presentation. Or it may be making a phone call to someone important that we need to impress, right? These are the kinds of things that are presenting us with that same threat stimulus. So our body is acting in the same way, that survival mode that it needs to act in order to keep us alive. And yet we know that phone call is not actually life-threatening. However, it's all well and good to tell ourselves that it's not actually going to cause us to perish if we make that phone call. That threat stimulus has already put in action the fear response. Now, here's where we get to the really interesting bit, because what is going on in our body when we feel nervous, when we feel anxious, when we feel afraid, is exactly the same thing on a physiological level to when we feel excited. What that means is that studies show that all those physical symptoms that we've just talked about, that are a result of that threat stimulus and then that fear response being triggered, are exactly the same as when you feel excited, when you feel that sense of anticipation for something joyful that is about to happen. That vacation you're about to go on, or seeing your friend that you haven't seen for 20 years, or those butterfly feelings when you're about to do something that you have been looking forward to for such a long time. Or even just the excitement of an unexpected surprise, your partner making you dinner, or a bouquet of roses being delivered to you at work. That excitement causes your body to react in certain ways. Increased heart rate, a change in your breathing pattern, sweaty palms, dry mouth. These are all the same physiological responses that fear stimulus presents. The only difference is the label we put on it, what we're doing mentally and emotionally at that moment. So by telling ourselves that these feelings are because we're afraid, or by telling ourselves that these feelings are because we are excited. Now, depending on what the trigger is, we'll naturally fall into one of those two categories. But actually, the trick here is simply telling yourself the other message, telling yourself that you're excited instead of afraid. The effect that this has can be phenomenal. Alison Wood Brooks did a study with Harvard Business School that showed that when people felt those feelings of fear by going into a job interview, or by going out on a date, or any other of those typical responses, standing up in front of a group of people, raising your hand in a meeting, if they told themselves that actually those feelings were excitement, they performed better. And of course, it was a more enjoyable experience. I understand that it can be difficult to make that leap. And when I work with my clients one-on-one and I tell them this, they are definitely skeptical. So you'd be excused if you're feeling the same thing. But what I say to you is try it. If you know that what is going on in your body is exactly identical, yes, you could keep telling yourself that you are scared, that you are anxious, that you are worried. But remember, that fear response has been triggered by an innate instinct that has told you that your survival is at risk. But your survival is not at risk. Making that phone call is not a life or death situation. You are not going to meet your demise if you stand up at that meeting and say your point. It is a lie you are telling yourself. So if you tell yourself something different, if you change the script, if you say, actually right now I am feeling excited and all of these sensations that I'm getting, my racing heart, my dry mouth, that's because I'm excited. When we know that that is true on a physiological basis, then you telling yourself that isn't a lie. Actually, that's the truth. And by so doing, you give yourself the courage to make that move, and you do it with a sense of joy and a sense of confidence. Yes, it feels like a lie to begin, but the only reason it feels like a lie to begin is because it is less rehearsed than the survival lie that you've been telling yourself for years, that you are in danger, that there is a threat to you when you are faced with one of your personal threat stimuli. Now, it is as simple as switching the script. It is as simple as making that flip and telling yourself something different. But I wanna give you a head start here, because you may be confronted with a lot of personal resistance when trying to change your narrative. So what we're gonna do to get this started is to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. So all of that fear response is stimulating your sympathetic nervous system. We need to counter that. Your parasympathetic nervous system is what's in charge of that feeling of calm, that feeling of being in control, that peace that comes from doing mindfulness exercise or meditation, or just something that you really enjoy, going for a walk out in the countryside, spending quality time with someone you love. All of those activities stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Now we need to get that into gear so that you have the control and the sense of calm from which to change your narrative. So a simple way to do this is through breathwork. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how breathwork can change your relationship to anxiety, then check out this video here. But I'm gonna give you a simple breathing exercise now that you can start doing today and every day to engage that parasympathetic nervous system so that you can change the narrative from being afraid to being excited, because that's when the real magic happens. That's when you start to engage with the world in a different level. That's when you are able to give yourself permission to go after your opportunities, to present yourself in the best possible way, and to do justice to the amazing person that you actually are. So the breathing exercise is very simple here. All you need to do is make sure that your exhale is longer than your inhale. Breathe through your nose wherever possible. So if you have nice, clear nasal passageways, then that shouldn't be a problem. If you've got a cold right now, fine, breathe through your mouth if you need to. But whenever you're doing breath work, try to breathe through your nose because the benefits are huge. And if you want to know more about that, do check out the links in the description box below. Do it with me now. Breathe in. We're going to do it on 5 counts. Breathing in for 5 counts and out for 7. This is how it goes. And out. Now, if you've ever thought, yeah, Maddie, everybody always says when I'm feeling anxious, when I'm feeling worried, to take a deep breath and it doesn't work. No, it doesn't. And what we're talking about here is not taking a deep breath. We're talking about slowing your breath down. Remember, that fear response is telling you to increase your rate of breath, to increase your heart rate so that you can fly, right? So that you can get yourself into a place where you will survive. So by slowing down your breath, you are stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system, reminding yourself that you are not in a situation where you have to fight for your life, and then you flip the script. You change your narrative. You remind yourself that you are excited here. Abandon that survival lie that you've been telling yourself about the danger you are in, because it's not serving you. You can make a list right now of all the times that fear has held you back from achieving your goals, or from going after what you want, or for living up to your true potential. Now's the time to make a change. And if you're worried that you're slipping back into the habits that are going to continue to cause you anxiety, check out this video here with the 4 things that you should definitely not do if you are experiencing anxiety. It's about 10 minutes long. I'll see you over there.